So what percentage of uni students today live at home to save money? It's 31%.
You're watching The Right Stuff with Terry Christian, Kate Adams and Sarah Beanie. Catch our new series, Property Snakes and Ladders, on Channel 4 every Tuesday evening at 8. Still to come on this show, if you wanted, I don't know, a baby girl, would you keep having babies till you got one? What if you kept having boys? When would you stop? 0207 173 5555 is the number for experiences. Would you, should you, keep going until you get what you want? First, though, do stay-at-home university students suffer? Do they have a less satisfying experience than those who live in halls or rented accommodation? I think it's a crucial question because the government's thinking of encouraging more of you to do it, to live at home with the rents, by scrapping tuition fees for those students who choose to live with mum and dad. Now, if the idea was to become policy, students who sign up for it would not have to pay tuition fees of what? It'll be £3,225 from this year coming, which is, what, nearly 10 grand for a 3-year course. You'd also, though, lose any right to a student loan. But then you wouldn't really need one, would you? I mean, mum and dad could provide you with breakfast, lunch and tea. They could do your laundry. They could even buy your books for you. It would be just as if you were still at school. And that's the problem, isn't it? Poorer students may be tempted to take up this offer to stay at home with the rents, but wouldn't they end up having a second-class degree experience? How are they supposed to get off their nut on a variety of illicit substances, sleep with hundreds of other students and drink themselves into oblivion when they're sharing their home with mum and dad? I mean, it's just not right.
Maybe mum and dad are doing it too.
Maybe. The circle is squared. With the average university student leaving uni owing 16 grand, for some it may seem an attractive proposition, but is it, you know? Maybe you did your degree while living at home with your folks, and maybe you're thinking about doing it this year. If so, give us a call. What, though, if your dream university is hundreds of miles from home? If this plan was to become policy, poorer students would be effectively encouraged to study at their closest university, not necessarily the one offering the best course. And that's the view of the National Union of Students, by the way. So what do we think, Kay?
Well, I mean, this plan isn't going to become policy. I mean, at most, it's not even an option yet. At most, it might become an option. And we just learned there that 31% of students already choose...
That's what I mean, the numbers are growing,
yeah. At home. So you could say that those people who do choose to stay at home would say, well, yes, thank you very much, this works for me. So, you know, I think people have to make adult choices. But can I just chip in there,
because I only know one person that has, personally, and they admit now, 20 years on, that they wish they hadn't. That they felt they missed out.
Well, what I was then going to say is I would not advise it. And when my kids come to that age and if they choose to go to university, I will be saying, go, 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 go. Do not stay home. Not because I wouldn't love to have them in my house, because I think I'll find it very difficult. But from my own experience, I left the house at 17 to go to university, and the experience of being independent at that age was equal, if not greater, to the academic kind of side of things. So I do think it's a much better experience. Sadly, we live in times that it's not necessarily always going to be possible.
Is it picking on the poor, Terry?
I don't know, because most of the kids who used to live at home, when I went to Polytechnic down in London, you know, it'd be the University of Greenwich now, actually, where I went, Thames Poly, tended to be, you know, kids whose parents would have had to contribute to the grants. You got a grant in those days, and so it was kind of cheaper for them to stay at home because the grant wouldn't necessarily cover living outside. I mean, for me, my whole ambition, really, when I was 18, was just to have my own room, because I'd grown up sharing with 2 brothers. So the idea that I actually, at last, had somewhere to invite friends back.
Okay.
All right, euphemism, perhaps, but, you know, that's what spurred me on to academic excellence. So, but had I been living at home, I would have ended up with a degree instead of setting myself a very low standard and failing to maintain it. And getting booted out. So it works both ways. If you're responsible enough to do the work as well, but I got too sucked into the idea of having my own room.
And bringing back friends.
And consequently didn't actually get enough work done.
I hadn't thought of it that way. Because I guess
not going in.
Because today the financial pressures are so high on students that I think there's probably less mucking around than there used to be. What do you think, Sarah? Do you think it would be a shame if... And I do think it will be an appealing proposition if it does become policy to poorer students, those from poorer backgrounds.
I'm not sure, though, because I think if you really come from a poor background, the thought of getting... I mean, getting a student loan is not... It's a loan, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not. So it's not saying you have to pay anything. Actually, personally, I think you have to have quite wealthy parents to be able for them to afford you to still live at home. I also think in a society where we're all making, I mean, it's quite clear, I think, to most people that a disparate society is not benefiting society in any way. So having, you know, elderly people and children all living separately and everyone living separately and not living in a family or a community, to do anything that kind of encourages the family to care for themselves and take responsibility for themselves and live together is not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think.
It's also a really good point you make about the parents. I mean, you know, talking about parents who are maybe in their late 40s, early 50s, who may be struggling financially themselves, I mean, they don't necessarily want to have or can afford to have a 17, 18-year-old at home just kind of sponging off them.
Well, also, you want to leave, I think, when you're at that age. You need to get away from
But what you want and what you get in this day and age have changed. And I think it's quite clear there are more students living at home with their parents now doing their degrees, and there's got to be a reason for that. And I think the reason is money, or lack of it.
There is another issue, which is, do we really need the entire country to have a degree?
Well, yeah.
And is that something that is going to really... What are they going to do at the end?
But if you go with Kay, and I would agree with her completely, that the experience of leaving home at 17 and standing on your own 2 feet as best you can was equal to, for me, what I learnt within the degree.
Well, the same, I mean,
it was good for me.
I'd only ever been to London to see United at Wembley. And,
don't forget that part, will you miss men when we're gone, by the way, that's still to come, ladies.
No, but so for me, that was the first, and we only went on, you know, about 3 holidays. That was on at Blackpool, so it was the first time I got to see the outside world in a weird way.
OK, let's throw it open to you. It'd be great to hear from any students who have stayed at home out of choice. Is this a good idea? Should it become government policy, basically getting rid of student loans and tuition fees if you choose to stay home with mum and dad? Go on then, Beth.
Yeah, we've got Jessica from Leeds on line 1.
Morning, Jessica.
Morning.
Morning. You're a Yorkshire girl, then?
Yes.
OK, so, and Leeds was your nearest university?
Yes. I went to Leeds Metropolitan.
Was it a choice of yours to go there?
Yes, it was. It was the only one in my area that did my degree.
Right. So, and you live with mum and dad?
Yes, I do. I still live at home now, and I'm 24.
Who's that? Bit mean. Come on, when are you going to leave home? Should you not? Is it not a great opportunity?
At the end of this year, and I'm moving to London, so I'm going quite far away from my comfort zone.
Right. Do you think it could have been useful for you doing that at 17, 18 with other people of your generation, your peers?
No, because all of my friends still live at home as well, and we're all in the same age group.
If you had... If there were grants, as there were back in the day when I was at university, and you had £3 to live on, no fees to pay, would you have been more likely to go further afield than Leeds?
Yes, probably, but mine was being able to afford the fees, pay rent. I only worked part-time when I was at university, and it was too expensive still then to pay fees. So I did have to borrow money off my mum and dad to get my full fees paid.
So with that in mind, do you think this idea, that this concept they're chucking around at the moment of scrapping tuition fees and, it has to be said as well, removing your right to a student loan would be a good thing for those who choose to stay at home with mum and dad?
Yeah, because you wouldn't pay your fees, but you could still have a part-time job for the money that you want to go out, because you can still get freedom. I still have the freedom to go out and do whatever I wanted, when I wanted. Even though I lived at home, it wasn't about...
But you're saying this, but at the same time, you'd accept that if money hadn't been a problem, you would have gone further afield?
Yes, I probably would.
So, so money, the lack of money is clipping your wings, and it is forcing students to stay at home?
Yeah, but like your survey said, 31% of uni students already stay at home, and that might be for other reasons.
Yeah, I know. I'm
that £3
disappointed about it. Really.
£3.5 grand. I think I got. Then I got it tipped up by my dad worked at ESSO, and they had a special bursary there. That was as much as you'd have got working at that time. It'd be like the equivalent of getting a 15 grand a year grant or something. I
want to get one more in, because I mean, Jessica's very reasonable about it, but I'm still not, actually. So thank you, Jessica. Let's have one more.
Let's go for Louise from Wales on line 3.
Morning, Louise.
Morning.
What was your experience? Did you stay at home or go away?
No, I went away. I mean, I'm 32 now, so when I went to uni, we did have the grant system then, which I did get sort of the full grant, but it was only like, £3,500 a year, and you got student loans on top, and I had a part-time job. but I think it's the best thing I ever did going away to uni, because you just get more independence, you learn to stand on your own 2 feet, do your bills yourself. I mean, have a heck of a time as well. But do you know what I mean? It's about independence and growing up a bit, I think.
Would you be angry if the government was to make it a policy which is effectively encouraging the less well off to stay at home?
Yeah. Because where I live, or where I've been from, I went to Cardiff Uni to start with, and then I did another course and went to Bournemouth. And from where my parents lived to Cardiff, there's a 2-hour drive, because we're right sort of on the coast. So that's, as in Swansea, that's the nearest university, so I would have been really limited to where I could go.
OK, I'm afraid we have to go. We've got to take a break. Unfortunately, it's the one we have to hit on time, and I'm already late. Fascinating stuff, though, and I have to say, disappointing too. Thank you for all the calls. After the break, if you wanted a baby girl and you kept having boys, would you keep going till you get what you wanted, Sarah? No, you, at home. What if it never happened? Would you spend the rest of your days feeling disappointed? As a simple man, soon to be extinct, how strong is the drive in you girls to have the right mix of boys and girls in your family? 0207 173 5555 is the number for your thoughts. How do you cope with the disappointment if you don't get what you're after? Your calls are nothing but after the ads. Back in a jiffy.
What percentage of expectant parents have a preference as to the sex of their unborn child? 40, 60 or 80%?